title of our teaching today is Wicca, the Grand Old Religion Coming of Age. From an American philosopher and writer, Henry David Thoreau, I open with his words, "The universe is wider than our view of it." In the study of magic, one may discover poetry. I have found much of witchcraft prayers or spells are poetic. So it is fitting with our topic at hand to begin with a poem from another literary great, Wordsworth. 1806, he wrote this. "The world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away, a sordid boon. The sea that bears her bosom to the moon. The winds that will be howling at all hours, and are upgathered now like sleeping flowers. For this, for everything, we are out of tune. It moves us not. Great God, I'd rather be a pagan, suckled in a creed outworn. So might I, standing on this pleasant lay, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn. Have sight of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his weathered horn." Even in modern America, there are a host of misconceptions and even fears about witchcraft. Those who practice the craft and call themselves witches or Wiccans face stigma on many levels. We shall ask, what is Wicca really about? Why are so many seemingly intelligent and educated people drawn to this religion from all walks of life? You may be challenged if, like so many, your impressions and knowledge of witches are based on Hollywood images such as The Wizard of Oz, one of my all-time favorites, or more recent movies like Practical Magic, or The Craft, or television series like Charmed, or Sabrina the Teenage Witch, who's no longer a teenager. I realize that some may even ask, why should we spend the time with such nonsense? Well, hold on to your hats. For you are going to blow the dust off of some shallow, inaccurate images of what is truly a vibrant spiritual belief system based on a rich ancient heritage. Let's start with asking you, have you ever met a witch or pagan? You've probably met at least one in your life, maybe more. And it may be more than you think, since many witches or pagans are not public about their religion. Generally, most of us are not of the loud proselytizing kind. Unlike some Christian sects, we do not have to convert or save others, and we do not believe, like some religions, that ours is the one true faith. Along these lines, Doreen Valente says, "We have seen in the last 20 years an amazing renaissance of public interest, not only in witchcraft, but in the occult generally. Witches do not seek converts. They only ask acceptance and freedom to be what they want to be and to do what they want to do." There are a lot of us out there, and our numbers keep increasing. Of all the many religions practiced in the United States, it has been said that Wicca is among the fastest growing. So then, what do witches really look like? Forget that hat image. For some, the first images that come to mind again, they hear the words witch is the Wicked Witch of the West, or her green skin or wart-encrusted nose. Contrary to the Hollywood stereotypes, witches, just like Christians and the rest, Jews, Hindus, or Buddhists, come in many different packages. In fact, we are your neighbors, co-workers, and possibly even family. We cannot be identified by how we look or what we wear. And A.J. Drew, in his book, Wicca Spellcraft for Men, he says, "Wicca is not a fashion statement. It is living in a growing religion that now fills the spiritual needs of hundreds of thousands of people." So let's begin by some definitions. Pagan. Pagan comes from the Latin word paganus, meaning country dweller. The word pagan, for many, has stigma, like we mentioned in the child's story time. But today it is used as a general term for followers of Wicca and other magical, shamanistic, and polytheistic religions. Neo-pagan just mainly means new pagan, and is a living, evolving religion. All Wiccans are pagans, but not all pagans are Wiccans. Wicca is a contemporary pagan religion with spiritual roots in shamanism and the earliest expressions of reverence for nature. Whereas witchcraft, the difference, the craft of the witch is magic, especially magic utilizing personal power with energies, with stones, herbs, colors, and other natural objects. While it has spiritual overtones, witchcraft, using this definition, it's not a religion. Witchcraft usually is not a religion. However, some followers of Wicca uses this word to denote their religion. What then is Wicca about? Is there a common belief system? Like various sects of Christianity, are there dogmas or a single book like the Bible? Let's begin to answer these questions by quoting Dr. Gerald B. Gardner of England, considered to be the father of modern witchcraft, who in his 1955 breakthrough work, The Meaning of Witchcraft, said this. That book's probably out of print, but I have it. The meaning of witchcraft is to be found not in strange religious theories about God and Satan, but in the deepest levels of human mind, the collective unconscious, and in the earliest developments of human history. It is the deepness of the roots that has preserved the tree. And from Starhawk, remember we heard that earlier? Starhawk was quoted, we read from. So, Starhawk, in her modern classic work from 1979 and reissued in 1999, Spiral Dance, says this: each of us embodies the divine. We all do. Our ultimate spiritual authority is within, and we need no other person to interpret the sacred to us. We foster the questioning attitude, and we honor intellect, spiritual and creative freedom. Starhawk goes on to say, we are evolving, dynamic, and proudly call ourselves witches. Raven Gramsci, an award-winning author of 12 books on Wicca and witchcraft, and a teacher and practitioner of magical systems for more than 30 years, says this: Wicca, as the old craft, is a religion that teaches connections to nature, and more importantly, to the forces behind nature. Its purpose is, in part, to align an individual with the flow of energy on this plane, and to teach rapport with the deity. By seeking an understanding of divinity within the ways of nature, we establish an unspoken communication with the creators. As we come to know the old ways, we encounter and embrace the polarities of the Great Spirit, the goddess and God. The craft is a system of spiritual development as well. It teaches us to walk in balance. We learn that everything connects and shares a relationship with everything else. And then from Marion Winstein's excellent book, Positive Magic, that came out in 1978 and reissued in 1994, after 25 years of being out there and being one of the earlier educators on what Wicca really is. And she had radio shows, and she'd be called to a lot of talk shows, and Hollywood would bring her in as a consultant on movies. She says this: witchcraft is an ancient Celtic magic religion. Has existed in the form still practiced today for about 6,000 years. It predates all contemporary forms of monotheism, definable as a pagan religion. Numerous sects of witchcraft exist, but they all have certain basic traditions in common. Here's some of the basic traditions they have in common. 1, a reverence for all of nature. 2, a belief in the existence of a goddess, girls rule, as well as God. 3, belief in a power which unifies the visible and invisible forces. And 4, the use of the threefold law. That basically is whatever we do will come back, good or harm, will come back to us 3 times. Threefold law. So if we reap what we sow, another tradition, maybe that's kind of like the same thing. So you can probably pull that out of the world's great religions, I think. This one's ours, threefold law. And what an ethical law that is. I don't do harm because it's going to come back and bite me 3 times harder than I send it out there. Right now in this life, I don't have to wait for an afterlife reward or punishment. It's going to happen now. So as Wiccans, we profess that our religious history is not only as viable as those who judge us, but it is in fact thousands of years older than Christianity's and spans multitudes of cultures and continents. Ours indeed is the old religion. Paganism is truly a worldwide faith perspective. We talked with the children. We pagans have a faith and belief in a spiritual universe as manifested through the god and goddesses, through which we live, pray, and conduct ritual life. Where mainstream religious fundamentalism and much of Christian history is about exclusiveness, proselytizing, and rejection of other religions, our beliefs are about spiritual diversity, inclusiveness, and acceptance. I'm going to cut through some of this, I think. Before I talk on some basic common beliefs of Wicca, let's first talk a little bit of history. I'll cut this in half. Starting with the Middle Ages in Europe, the burning times, known as the Inquisition. How many women and young girls were tortured and murdered at the hands of the church? Estimates were as high as 9 million. I quote from Dr. Raymond Buckland, who was a contemporary of Dr. Gardner, who I mentioned, and who introduced modern Wicca to the United States in the 1960s. Dr. Buckland is from Ohio. And folks that I know through the last number of years of coming to this faith have been with this man numerous times in various conferences and retreats and other Wiccan functions. I have never personally met him, but I have a lot of his books.
He is amazing.
Yeah,
I got to meet him.
You got to meet him. That's right. Okay, so in one of Buckland's many books, I do say many, I think there's like 30 plus, Wicca for Life, he says, for several centuries during the Middle Ages, the Church, believing what we have since proven to be misconceptions of witchcraft, persecuted millions, torturing and putting to death innocent people. In recent years, the truth emerged that witchcraft is simply a non-Christian, not anti-Christian religion, dating from ancient times, that has its followers, known as either Wiccans or witches, are lovers of all living things with desires to harm none. Pagans are a religious minority in our country, and we have been subject to religious discrimination. According to Starhawk, there she is again, religious discrimination against pagans and Wiccans and indigenous religions is omnipresent in the U.S. I'll give 2 examples. The widespread discrimination of Wiccans face in the military. As recent as 2007, the United States Department of Veteran Affairs did not allow the use of the pentacle. No, it's up there. This one. On the grave markers. So they went to court and got that corrected. This policy was changed at an out-of-court settlement. Another example is a U.S. Army chaplain, Captain Don Larson, who was dismissed from his post in Iraq in 2006, despite an exemplary service record, after changing his religious affiliation from Pentecostal Christian to Wicca and applying to become the first Wiccan military chaplain. Due to negative connotations associated with witchcraft, Many Wiccans continue the traditional practice of secrecy, concealing their faith for fear of persecution. Revealing oneself as Wiccan to family or friends or colleagues is what could be called, I call it, coming out of the broom closet. I don't know if I coined that or not, but I don't remember ever reading it. What is this life and religion of nature of which Gardner speaks? So, Wicca from the beginning, especially today, is not one religion or tradition, but there are common tenets and beliefs. Again, Wicca is a living faith, not bound by books written by men, as with the Bible. It's been said that nature is our Bible. We believe in an ever-present God with deities revealing through creation. Basically, we live in harmony with nature and the environment. In the faith of Wicca, one can believe in a single deity, the All, the Source, the Great Mystery, which I often include in my rituals. I have a single candle for the One, Source, Wankantankan, known by many names. And then the male and female deities, all from the One, the Lord and the Lady, God and the Goddess. There was also a monolistic or belief in one God, which we don't have time for that. That would be another lecture. Back in this day, in that Book of the Dead, there's prayers in there that are praying to the one God, the creator of all, along with the polytheistic aspects of that religion, which I found fascinating when I uncovered that they also had that belief of the one God. So in the faith of Wicca, one can believe in a single deity, okay? But the mystery has two aspects, a male and female, the God and the Goddess, the Lord and the Lady. Neither the male nor the female is stronger or better or more important. Wiccans also work with demigods, or different, smaller aspects of all. Does this sound crazy? Well, let's see. This is something that I've come to. Christians who just have the Trinity. 3 gods in one, but who's counting? Even though paganism and Wicca encompass a rich diversity of believers, there are common beliefs found among us. In an attempt to come together, there was a Council of American Witches back in the 70s, and they came up with, a list of 13 basic principles. It's kind of like a large church conference. And it's just, I'm not going to go through all 13, but just some of them are. We practice rites to attune ourselves with natural rhythms of life forces. We do not recognize any authoritarian hierarchy. We do not accept the concept of absolute evil, nor do we worship any entity known as Satan or the devil as defined by the Christian traditions. That's some of it. So where do we find our support and strength? One place is our personal faith, as with people of other religions. We cannot separate our faith from who we are. Our personal religious experience differs from others in some fundamental ways. Among them, again, is that we need no intermediaries, with no priest, theologian, to decipher the Creator's truths. Ours, indeed, is a living faith. It's experiential. Our cathedrals and place of worship is nature's all around us. So don't be surprised if you ever see a pagan or myself hugging a tree. You can call me a tree hugger and smile all you want. Since Wicca is a religion, Silver Raven Wolf, in one of her more recent books, says this: the essence of witchcraft is about transformation. The idea is to take you currently present and accounted for and change your essence into something better, greater, stronger, and incredibly dynamic. Being a Wiccan means to want to work every day to be a better person. When you change yourself, then the world around you cannot help but change. To be a witch is to desire personal transformation. Now I'm going to jump to a quote from Dr. Just Zaraga in his book, Pagans and Christians, A Personal Spiritual Experience. He says this: in the final analysis, the value of spiritual practice for us all is determined by how well it brings us into a better relationship with what is highest and most sacred. We have no missionaries, but ours, nevertheless, is a path of beauty, one to which a growing number of people are called. Pagan spirituality is both a very old practice, harkening back to the dawn of humankind, and a very new, speaking to many of us. Our world will be greatly enriched by its renaissance. So in conclusion, I wish to share a personal faith testimony from the talk that I gave the first time here, when I said, when I now pray or practice in ritual alone or in community, or just walking among nature, or looking into the eyes of my cat, or bathing in the majesty of the moonlit sky, I am sensing a growing spiritual connectedness. The divine presence is more vivid to me now than all those years that I practiced my other faiths. And for me, I am at last home. So thank you for your time. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Hymn number 8.